Well, lords and ladies, may I bid you a very top of the afternoon here from Home and Garden with Nick. Today is a very special day as we are having high tea, afternoon tea with none other than Peggy and Scooter. And so for this very fine occasion, we are also going to be having some friends round later on this afternoon to help us finish off all the lovely goodies that I've prepared. And we will be having a cocktail party, a Downton Abbey style cocktail party. We have two cocktails on offer this evening, one of which we've called the Mr. Carson, which is a tequila-based cocktail with some Angostura bitters and some wonderful pink grapefruit juice. And then we've also got, for the lovely ladies, a Lady Edith, which is a slow gin-based cocktail with some egg whites and all sorts of wonderful things and some fresh mint going into that one. So we shall be having a terrific time this evening over our cocktails and laughter and maybe a few sneaky tobacco fair festivals along the way. So before I start lading this wonderful table with all the fabulous food, let me tell you a little bit about how I've dressed the table for today's event. So we've got our wonderful hunting scene cups and saucers. So we've gone for a very hunt theme today. We've also got our beautiful horn cutlery with our wonderful napkin rings, which again have the hunt, and our little side plates where we're going to embellish our afternoon tea on. And we've got some lovely rosettes, which were mine as a young boy when I used to do my horse riding. And we've also got some wonderful sherry, which we shall have a little tipple of that later within our sherry glasses, and our wonderful hunting scene placemats, which are really, really stunning. So I hope you enjoy this wonderful tablescape, and I'm heading off to the kitchen now where I'm going to retrieve all the wonderful food for the afternoon tea, fit for lords and ladies of Downton Abbey. Come with me, my friends. Okay, you guys, so treacle scones. Well, I believe technically they're supposed to be Scottish, but I don't think they're Scottish at all. I think they're Irish. So, my mum used to make a delicious treacle bread, which is exactly this recipe, but in the form of a soda bread. And we used to love it. And I mean, she would have to make so many because we would just sit and eat them one after the other with lots and lots and lots of Kerrygold butter slathered across the top. So, for these very simple, delicious treacle scones, I want to show you what you will need. So first of all, you will need a sieve, a scone cutter, a baking sheet lined with parchment paper. You will need a mixing bowl. And for your ingredients, you will need 150 grams of raisins. I have got the most delicious Turkish raisins, which I bought on my travels to Turkey. And all I have done is, a few hours ago, I soaked them in some boiling water with a tea bag. And that will just plump them up, make them nice and soft, and rehydrate them and give them a nice tea flavour. Help to add to the flavour of the treacle. In this bowl here, we have 450 grams of self-raising flour. We have 60 grams of soft brown sugar. We have 80 grams of chilled, very small cubes of butter. It's just literally come out of the fridge. I have in this bowl half a teaspoon of salt, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of mixed spice, and a half a teaspoon of ground ginger. And that's all going to get sieved in with the flour. And then in this bowl here, I have 100 grams of delicious, dark, yummy treacle. Now I hear you screaming at me from the United States of America saying, we don't have Lyle & Scott's treacle, which is this one here. So it's a darker version of the golden syrup. Basically, please do try to get your hands on this if at all possible. If you Americans cannot get golden syrup and treacle, I'm going to come and I'm going to open a store just for you guys selling you this stuff because it's amazing. But on a more serious note, if you can't get it, then the closest thing you can get is a molasses, which is basically the unrefined sugar, or a byproduct of the unrefined sugar. Technically, I don't quite know what it is, but that's what I think it is. So basically molasses. Now, molasses might have a slightly different, I'm not sure because I've never used it. So it may be slightly different, as in it may not be as thick. It may be a little bit more bitter. I'm not quite so sure. So depending on your molasses, you might need to add maybe a few grams more sugar. Although I like to sweeten the scones with the jam and the cream, as opposed to the scones being terribly sweet anyway, because then they end up like a biscuit. So we have an egg for egg washing the scones, and I have some self-raising flour just for flouring the work surface for when I turn them out. So what we're going to do is we're going to get our sleeves rolled up and we're going to get stuck in. And I was going to make a different scone for the afternoon tea, but my 3-ingredient scone, but Peggy's coming. And apparently, she wasn't a fan that they weren't made in the traditional manner. Who is that dog, honestly? Anyway, enough about that. I'm going to get on with this. So what you need to do is, to make these scones nice and light, you need to sieve your flour, because the treacle is quite heavy, so it's going to weigh down the scone mixture slightly. So we want to get as much air into this as possible. So the 2 ways we're going to do that is, the first way we're going to do it is we're going to sieve our flour, nicely from a nice height. And then as we're rubbing in our butter, we're going to do that from a nice height also. And Nicholai's just covered himself in flour. But anyway, we're not to worry, because this is more important than what my clothes look like at the end of it. And anyhow, it'll give me something to dust later. As you can see, all this lovely blue and white, it will need dusting. Okay, that's our flour sieved in. Okay, we'll put that to the side, and then we're going to add our spices. We're going to sieve those in as well. Okay, that's our salt, ginger, and mixed spice, and baking powder, all gone in there. And then we're just going to give that a stir, just to incorporate those ingredients together. Okay, so the next step after we've incorporated the spices is we're going to put our sugar and our treacle and our milk into a jug. And we're going to blend it all together with a spoon or a fork, whatever you have to hand. And make sure you get all that delicious, good treacle out of there. These scones are really, really, really good. And they're just a different variation on the traditional fruit scone. Notice how I call them scones. We have a tendency in this country to call them, and in the UK, to call them scones or scones. And I really don't like a scone. I think scone sounds so much more posh, so much nicer. So today we're making scones. Okay, so once you've got your treacle out of your bowl, and it can be sticky and gooey, and but get all of that into there, and then just give that all a good mix until you dissolve your sugar and your treacle becomes a little bit more pliable. So just stir that for a couple of minutes just to incorporate all together, and your milk will take on a nice coffee color, which is nice. Okay, so this step does take a few minutes, but it's really, really worth it, because you've incorporated all the ingredients together and you've broken down the treacle, so it's nice and incorporated into the, and the smell is like licorice. Okay, set that aside, and then we're going back to the next stage, which is now we're going to incorporate our butter, our fat, into our flour. Now you can use margarine, but there's nothing like real butter, so use butter. Again, you want to work this recipe as little as possible, so you're going to just use your fingertips, and you're going to all the while lift up your mixture up into the air to get air and keep the air into it whilst you're incorporating those tiny cubes of butter. You can also grate the butter in if you like, but it's not really necessary, just small cubes. Okay, so once you've incorporated your butter, okay, and you've got your sandy, gravelly, textured flour, then again, you need to kind of say to yourself, stop. So I'm going to say stop, Nicholai, because you can carry on and carry on and carry on, and all you're doing is you're introducing heat to your scone mixture, and you don't want to do that. Next step I'm going to do is I'm going to add the raisins. Because they've been soaked, so they're moist, so that's more liquid being added to the recipe. We'll hold back a little bit of the other liquid, which is the treacle, milk and sugar, and rather than we put all of that in and then we add this and we make the mixture too wet. So we'll incorporate our raisins in first. Okay, and all I've done is I've squeezed out any excess liquid out of the raisins. So, okay, so now you make a well in the center of your flour. Give your molasses another final stir. Scrape off that goodie. I say molasses, but I mean your treacle. Okay, and then using a knife, just a plain knife, all you want to do is incorporate your ingredients into your wet ingredients into your flour, holding back a little so that the mixture doesn't become too wet. You just want it to come together. And once it does come together, you need to stop mixing. Okay, so that's all incorporated. There is probably about 2 tablespoons of liquid left that I haven't used, that I felt I didn't need. So I'm literally going to bring this together with my hands. There's no kneading going to be done. Literally just get it out of the bowl all together. Okay. Oh, it smells amazing, honestly. And then I'm going to just give my work surface a light dusting of flour. Okay, that will help for... We're not going to even roll out this mixture because you don't need to. Pat your hands. Get your mix out. There's a couple of raisins that have escaped me there. And you literally just want to flatten and twist at the same time. So that basically... Okay, and I'm going to give mine to about 1 inch thick. Very important. When you're cutting, you never push down and twist. Just push down and pull straight up. Okay? And you might need to help your scone out a little bit, but that's it. Please do not push down and twist because you're sealing the edges and your scones won't rise. Okay? A little bit more flour on my board so I can do my thing. So straight down and straight up. And pop it out onto your baking sheet. Flour your cutter again. Straight down and straight up. Now I'm making my scones slightly thicker than I would normally, and that's simply because I need to impress a young lady. And believe me, I'm going to. So again, flour your cutter and down into your mix. And you know, it almost smells like and reminds me of gingerbread. But I suppose in a way it kind of is, because it's got ginger and it's got nutmeg and it's got all the spices and flavors and the treacle that gingerbread would have. And I know that they do use treacle in gingerbread also. Okay, so now for the egg wash. So I've literally got a beaten egg here. I'm going to brush just the tops only of the scones. Don't brush the sides, just the top. And then what I'm going to do is the little bit of treacle that's left over in the jug with the milk and sugar, I'm going to brush that over the top as well, simply to give them a little bit of crunch on the top. Okay, I've managed to make out of this recipe 10 scones, and that is because I did leave them slightly thicker than I would normally. So I'm just going to get my brush in here to get some of that lovely sugar and molasses that's stuck to the bottom. Okay, and I'm literally just going to glaze that over the top, on top of the egg. Okay, so these are going to be resting for 30 minutes. So what you need to do is after 15 minutes, you need to preheat your oven to 420 Fahrenheit, 220 Celsius or gas mark 7. And they will take no more than 10 to 15 minutes in the oven. Yeah? maximum 15 minutes, but preferably 10 minutes. And then you should have a nice, moist, light, fluffy scone. So we're going to leave these now for 30 minutes. And in 15 minutes, I'm going to preheat the oven. So, okay, you guys. So while the scones are in the oven and the oven's still hot, I'm going to make another dish for our afternoon tea. And these are our beautiful mushroom, onion, cream tarts. Because it's a Downton Abbey afternoon tea, only the best will do. And I like a little bit more savory than a lot of sweet stuff for the afternoon tea. So we're going to get on with making these. These are super easy and they are going to impress so much. Even Scooter agrees. Yeah? You need a muffin tin, okay? You need 1 medium onion. So you finely dice your medium onion. I have got about 10 button mushrooms here, which again, I've finely diced. And I've got 2 cloves of garlic. Heating in a pan, I've got some olive oil. And I've got a roll of shop-bought puff pastry because you know Nicholai doesn't do pastry. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the onions into the pan to get them sauteing off. Okay, so I want to make 12 because my muffin tray holds 12. So the easiest way to judge is I'm going to cut the pastry in half and then I know I need to get 6 out of this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So literally just slice them, pop them into your tray, like that. No one's going to murder you if they're not all identical in size. However, do try. Okay, that's 6, and then we need to do another 6. Okay, so you need to preheat your oven, 375 Fahrenheit, 170 fan, and gas mark 5. And then you need to get your fingers in, and you need to tease your pastry out to the edge of your muffin pan. So you're basically forming nice little tartlet style pastry, okay? So that you can fill them with lots of this nice mushroom and onion cream filling. Okay, so just push your pastry down with your fingers and spread it out. Okay, so once your onions have had 5 minutes, you then add your garlic and your mushrooms, and you're going to cook that again for another 5 minutes before you add your cream. Now, the measurements of this, there is no exact measurements. It purely depends on how many you want to make. So you'll have to just judge it by eye. But you can kind of tell there's 12 little pastry cases in here, and you're not going to fill them to the top. You're just going to put a small amount because the whole idea is the puff pastry will swell up around the filling and they will look nice and big and full anyway. So we'll give that another 5 minutes of cooking. Now I'm going to add into the onion, mushroom and garlic mixture, I'm going to add in approximately about 50 mils to maybe 100 mils of double cream. Okay, and then I'm just going to let that cook off. Now, I didn't add any salt into the mixture because I'm going to top each one with a little bit of grated Parmigiano. You can use cheddar cheese if you like, or you don't have to put cheese at all. But I like the cheesy flavour that the Parmesan gives to these lovely little tarts. Okay. So then I'm just going to pop my mixture into my tarts. Okay. Don't go mad because you remember you want these to be bite-sized pieces. You don't want to have to give somebody a knife and fork to be able to eat these. And how easy, quick and simple were they to make? And I swear to you, people are going to adore them. Because if you could smell this kitchen right now. Okay, and so you're going to top each one with a pinch of Parmesan cheese. Okay, Alexa's gone off, so they have been in for 25 minutes and they are done. So I'm just going to take them out of the agar. I'm going to put them on that tea towel. Oh, they smell amazing. Okay. And carefully, I'm going to take them out and pop them onto my wire tray. Okay, so I'm just going to take them out of my muffin pan and onto the wire cooling rack to cool. Don't leave them in the muffin pan because they will get soggy bottoms. And nobody wants a soggy bottom pie. You guys, I wish you could smell how wonderful they smell. Okay, so now I'm going to assemble my sandwiches for our Downton Abbey afternoon tea. And I've done two different types of sandwiches. I've done the traditional cream cheese with cucumber, and I've also done my favorite coffin chaser sandwiches. You all know about them, I'm sure. So I'm going to just put them together. And I will take the crusts off nice and slowly using a nice sawing action with your serrated edge knife. Let the knife do the work so that you don't tear the bread, and try to keep as close to the edge of the crust as possible. That way you're getting the crust removed, but you're getting to keep as much of the sandwich as possible. Like I said, let the knife do the work for you. Don't try to force it. It will cut through the bread. Come join us for afternoon tea. So, dear friends, lords and ladies, thank you for watching. We are now just waiting for our guests to arrive and then we will get stuck in. But in the meantime, I need a cup of tea. It was a lot of hard work. And thank you for coming on this wonderful journey with us today. And we do look forward to seeing you again very soon on another video. And thank you for watching. And don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. And thanks!